go to the Big Ten championship game here. Oregon now going to play Penn State after Michigan knocked off the Buckeyes. That line is -3.5 right now for Oregon. Before we get to breaking down the game, I've only run into one Penn State fan here in person in the office since this, and he was thrilled to be going to the Big Ten championship game.
I bet.
Is it, well, you say that, but is there any, like, it seemed like Penn State was right there in that 4, 5, 6 range. They were going to be hosting in Happy Valley even if they sat this one out and the Buckeyes went and played a rematch to Oregon. Is there any thought in your mind that if Penn State loses this game to Oregon, goes to 11-2, that now you might have to travel in the first round?
Maybe if it's ugly. If the committee's actually going to take these games and like judge where the team should be after the way they play in the conference championship game, if it's ugly to Oregon, I think there's a possibility of that happening. I don't think it's very likely. But when I look at Penn State, I wonder, and the Penn State fans in the chat, the people on the phone lines, it should be open. How do you feel about playing Oregon compared to playing Ohio State or Michigan? Because we talk about the mental block that it seems Ohio State has versus Michigan now. It seems the Penn State mental block is for Ohio State and Michigan, not Oregon. Do they view Oregon through the same prism as they do the big games against Ohio State and Michigan that they haven't been able to win in the past when you're all in the Big Ten East? I don't know the answer to that question, but I do know this. If you're Andy Kotelnicki, you cannot do what you did against Ohio State. I don't care if you get up 24-0 in the first half. You got up, 10-0? To Ohio State,
yep.
And you took your ball, you took all the creativity out of it, and you tried to sit on the ball and take the air out of the ball. You cannot do that. You have got to go be you. And he's a hell of a play caller. He knows more about offense than I'll ever know. I don't know everything, but I do know this Penn State team has been cooking when they are the aggressor, when they are being creative. We saw it against West Virginia, even in the first game of the year, taking shots down the field, being aggressive. I think that's who Drew Aller really is. So regardless for Penn State, learn from your mistake against Ohio State. And I'm not just saying if you get up. If it's tied 7-7, if you're down 10-3, you have got to continue to put your foot on the pedal on offense. Take your shots down the field. Don't just rely on the run game and hope to God the defense wins it. That's what you did against Ohio State. That is a death sentence. That is winning fentanyl for this football team. I would go out and I would take shots early. I'd be like an alcoholic at a wedding. I'm drunk before anybody shows up.
So, Blaine, what do you think here mentally for Penn State? Because there had to be this element that they were sort of settled into the first round of the playoffs. We're not going to be able to make the Big Ten championship game. The one huge game we played this year to the Buckeyes at home, we lost. But now that's kind of flipped in that, wait, we're going to get another huge game against the only team in college football that's undefeated before the playoffs even start. And that's going to be offset by the fact that, well, if you win, you can actually get a bye. So you wouldn't even be playing in the first round of the playoffs. This would be sort of your first round of the playoffs. If you lose, though, do you think they're still protected to be able to host in Happy Valley?
That's what we've heard, right? We can only go off what we heard. If I'm Penn State, man, you got everything in front of you. Who would not want this opportunity? You're about to go play the #1 team in the nation in your conference championship game. If you're a gamer, this is what you want. If you're a dog, this is what you want. If not, that other stuff, I don't even like entering that headspace because it's soft to me. And when it comes to this game, it's a Drew Aller game. Which guy will show up? Is it the Drew Aller everybody's been hyping up? The big moments between him and Dylan Gabriel, because you can look at both these teams, and they're kind of even in a lot of ways. Warren, I think, is one of the best players in college football. Kind of reminds me of Taysom Hill. And he's a Singleton, great back. But the weapons Oregon has, this is going to come down the difference maker position, and that's going to be the quarterback position. Which quarterback plays better in this game?
And when I look at Oregon offensively, you may stop them early, but eventually, with as good as Will Stein is, of supplementing maybe a lack of a run game at time with the short passing, you look at Tez, you talk about tight ends. Terrence Ferguson's one of the best in the country that not enough people talk about as well. Him and the Texas tight end Helm that I mentioned. Eventually, Oregon's going to find a way to score. So even if you're Penn State and we get halfway through the second quarter and it's 7-7 and both offenses are struggling, I'm telling you, you have got to stay creative. You have got to stay aggressive. This game needs to look like the USC game for Penn State. Whatever you got to do to get the ball to Tyler Warren, not just to get him down there. We saw against Ohio State, Tyler Warren, he'd take them all the way down there. Then they just forget. They'd get red zone Alzheimer's and just totally forget that Tyler Warren is the guy they need to lean on, and then use him as a counter. Dan Lanning knows he has to try and eliminate Tyler Warren. If he eliminates Tyler Warren, he takes a lot out of the Penn State offense. But use that against them. Know that Oregon's going to do that. Know that Oregon's going to be following him around like somebody that's in love for the first time in middle school. That's what it's going to look like. So you have your built-in plays to him. You have your counters off of it. I'm very excited to see which Oregon team shows up in this game too. Because Oregon is either going to get that bye, we talk about Penn State doing it, and be the top seed overall, or they're going to lose this game and be the 5th seed that I think would knock Notre Dame to the 6th seed. I just wonder if you're Penn State. In the back of your mind, are Penn State fans worried, hey man, if we lose this game, do we have to play Ohio State in the first round? I wonder how much of that thought process.
Hopefully not. I hope we don't get conference.
I don't think they would do that. I don't think the committee would do that.
We did talk about the 2 programs across the country that benefit the most from eliminating divisions in their conference, Ole Miss and Penn State. Now we're seeing them go to their conference championship game. Just to put a bow on it, Penn State will beat Oregon if they do what?
Stay aggressive and force turnovers.
What do you think?
Get to Dylan Gabriel, get to him early.
Okay. I'll say rush for over 200 yards.
Yeah.
So and a combination of all that would be a good recipe.
Dad, you probably win by 7 to 10. Yeah, probably winning by at least 10. Hey, what's up, YouTube? We're about to find out who's going to make it in, who's not. We're going through all the scenarios. We're tracking all of it. Got some great live streams coming up as well. So make sure you're subscribed.